welcome to another episode of Tribunal of the Grid, where we talk about all things Power Rangers, including the actors that play them. My name is Brandon.
My name is Lena.
My name is Will.
And today we will be talking about some news. Finally! Oh my God!
Yes.
Finally, we get some news, y'all. Oh, y'all, I don't think y'all understand how. Well, if you've been a long time listener, you do understand. So let me stop. But y'all, if this is your first time listening, we have been trying to get news forever, and finally, we got something. We got something that we can sink our teeth into. So we're going to be talking about some new Power Rangers, new universe, the cinematic universe. I guess, what is it called? PRCU, I guess. Yeah, we're going to be talking about that. And we're also going to be talking about RJ Cyler, who was 2017 Billy in the Power Rangers 2017 movie. He played in a movie called Emergency that we will be talking about tonight. So sit back, enjoy, relax. It may, get a little racy in here because, we are people of color on this podcast. Mm-hmm. So, if you don't want to hear these kinds of things, this may not be your episode. But if you...
And that's fine. We have many other episodes for you to actually go back and enjoy.
Exactly. Like, listen, we are always here to shake the table. That's just what we do. But also at the same time, it's like, look, if you don't want to hear it, it's fine. No love lost. Trust and believe. We get it. But
if you decide to sit through this episode with us, keep an open mind. Just be open. Hear our thoughts, digest it, and just let it flow through you. That's it.
And also, too, like, I actually challenge you to listen because you might end up learning something. You might end up learning something, and you might even have your opinions change on certain things.
Absolutely. I definitely thought of you guys when I was watching this movie.
Oh yeah. Like, the whole entire time, like, there were so many trigger moments, and I'm like, why doesn't this movie come with like
a trigger
warning? Exactly.
Absolutely.
Why does it not come with a trigger warning?
They kind of gave you one in that first scene.
Okay, but that was not a proper trigger warning.
That was not a proper trigger warning. No. I'm like, they should have wrote that mess out and was like, look, there's gonna be some offensive shit in here. So, and I'm like, right off of Juneteenth?
Right. And like,
why did we choose this right off of Juneteenth?
And then like, my other thing was too is that like, okay, can we just get into the movie first? Like, I just want to get into the movie first.
Oh, we can do the movie. That's fine. But before we do, I always have to make our pitch. I always have to tell the people.
Absolutely.
We are on Apple Podcasts, we on Google Podcasts, we on Spotify. I guess we are. We probably still are. But
we are on Spotify.
Technically, we are, but just don't listen to that. Right? Don't listen to it, girl. No. But we are. We're on SoundCloud. We're on YouTube. We are everywhere where podcasts are. Are supposed to are listened to. Yeah, exactly. We're everywhere.
So whatever you're listening to right now, we're there.
We're there. We're there. So let's go ahead and get into it because I'm just saying we got to talk about this.
Oh yeah.
Go for it.
Okay. First of all, I want to say this movie for one was way too long for what for the message it needed to be told. And secondly, I apologize, but it was a horrible movie.
Really?
Yeah. Okay, at first to me it was like it was kind of stupid funny. Like, I feel like this is like a Harold Kumar situation where they're trying to make it to the parties, but they don't make it to the parties. And then, actually, let's rewind. can you guys or Brennan give us a summary of what this movie is about, and then we'll get into it.
All right, ready for a night of legendary partying? 3 college students must weigh the pros and cons of calling the police when faced with an unexpected situation.
Oh, I have a different one. This one is a little bit longer.
It has a little longer.
Yeah. It is, well, I mean, not too much longer, but yeah. but this one is, after an epic night of partying, 3 college students return home to find an unconscious woman in their apartment. Worried that the police will suspect them of wrongdoing, they then try to get the woman to safety without drawing suspicion.
Wait, they said after a night of partying? Like what? They didn't even party yet.
They didn't even start.
They didn't even get to the party. So technically, I like Wills more.
Yeah. So, okay,
I like Wills more.
So that summary lied to us, obviously.
Right?
So now that y'all know what the summary of this movie is, it gave me Harold Kumar vibe, where these 2 guys are trying to make it to the, trying to go on this legendary tour, trying to be the first black dudes to make it on
Wall of First.
Wall of First. Okay. And these are, by the way, college students.
Yeah. So it's supposed to be like a Wall of First, but only for the Black community. So like the first Black person to walk the hall of this college. I don't know.
Well, there were more like official accomplishments, like the first person, I can't think of it right now, but like like the first person to get a certain type of degree, or the first person to get a certain type of job. But then they also had more silly stuff, like the first
more random stuff. Yeah.
So it was like a good Wall of First with a lot of mixtures. And it was cute. I actually really like the idea of it. I like the recognitions that, like that they want to put out there. And it was great. And so I'm like, all right, cool. So it's giving me the whole Harold Kumar vibe where things are just going downhill for them, right? And you kind of see that already. And then it kind of just died the moment they ended up at their home with some random white girl on their floor. And I'm like, oh.
Here's my thing. And I'm not sure if this was intentional or if this is what they really intended it to be. Because my thing is, what I initially thought going into this movie, I initially thought that the movie was supposed to be like a dramedy, or like a dramedy thriller or something like that.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking that even though there was going to be a whole lot of bad stuff that was happening, there was still going to be like funny elements to it. And I was waiting to laugh at certain points. And I'm like, wait a minute. I'm not laughing at this. This is mad triggering.
Right.
Like, okay, like I'm really sitting here like, okay.
Prime lists it as a comedy satire. So I think it's supposed to have kind of like a darker humor, but for me, I kind of was waiting for a moment to laugh as well. There were a couple of things that I did laugh at, but
oh yeah, like I did laugh at a couple of things. Like, for example, with the black men in the that whole scene where Sean is RJ Seiler, by the way. When Sean took Lay to the house, to his brother's house, and all like and all these like hood dudes just sitting in there, and they all just like, dude, sit down. Like, I was like, oh God. Like, that part had me laughing. And then when the girl came in there, was like, she's underage. And
that
was gotta go.
A part of me. They ran the hell out of it.
I enjoyed that.
That was hilarious.
That was funny.
And that's what I thought that was going to happen. Like, it was going to be more of that, right?
Right.
And that's kind of why I'm like, I saw like, that was kind of how it pasted together with like Harold Kumar vibe. But then it wasn't as funny as Harold Kumar, like all these random shit is happening, but it's not like funny random shit. It's just like very triggering random shit, like I'm just like, man, I don't know. I don't know what to make of this,
Well, you know what? So the first triggering moment, it happened like in the beginning, and
The first
it's really
scene.
weird. Yeah, and that's really strange because it didn't really play into anything else because we never saw that professor again. I
No.
guess it set the tone for some racial commentary and social commentary, but other than that, like that first scene was kind of like really unnecessary.
It was. I will say I thought it was funny that Sean had so much to say but refused to say anything.
Right,
Yeah.
right. And that was something that bugged me throughout the movie. That actually bugged me a lot.
And then what really pissed me off was the fact that she targeted them afterwards. And I was like, oh.
Well, here's the thing. And I could see how in that particular scene, I could see how some people might have read that as when watching it being like, oh, she singled them out kind of a situation. But to me, I was like, this is so accurate in academic spaces, especially in college. Like, this is so accurate. Like, professors will literally be given like a whole dissertation, you know what I'm saying? And then you sitting here having conversations. They're looking at you the whole time, having a whole conversation, and will stop and be like, oh, is there anything you want to add? You know what I'm saying? And put you on the spot because literally they were talking the whole time during that lady talking about it. So I could understand why.
I get it. But I think, didn't she say something along the lines of like, you guys being Black, maybe you guys could give us an insight?
Yeah.
Well, not really so much that it was more so it was more so kind of like she was just like not really so much of you guys being Black. It was just kind of like, oh, well, do you have an opinion on it? Because it was almost kind of like being like, since y'all talking back there, you obviously must, have an opinion about what's going on. And it just so happened that they were the only Black people in the class.
Yeah.
So it was like...
For more context, listeners, in the beginning scene, we see Sean and Kunle in a class, and their professor is a British white woman, and it's some sort of it has to do with race, but she talks about a word that evokes great emotion and is controversial word, and it's a slur, and it's the N word, but she introduces it as the N word, and then she actually says it multiple times, and that that made me feel uncomfortable. I didn't like it. She then when she called them out, it was a mixture of, I see where you guys are coming from, and I think that she also really did want to get their input on on her saying it and what it evokes. Why do they feel that way? She even talked about how some folks use it with the ER, and usually Black folks use it with an
just
A.
The A.
And it was really uncomfortable because it made me think, is she trying to do this just to get a reaction from Black people? Like, why do you feel comfortable saying that? Why do you like it? Just this goes into a whole topic on using the word and why, kind of like, why can Black people use it and other people why they can't, and it just gets into that like, we don't feel like, Brandon and I and a lot of Black people, we don't feel like under any circumstance should anybody else use it because of the context of where it stems from, how it was used, and how it's something that's used to put us down and dehumanize us. And Black people, of course, have taken the word and have kind of redefined it in a sense and put a different meaning into it. But it's something that, because we're Black people, that's a part of our culture. It's not something for anybody else to just do with it what they want. And I think that that's the conversation that professor wanted to start and I guess understand. But it was just I just don't think that from where the movie went, I just don't think that it was necessary to have that scene.
Thank you, Will. Thank you. Because that is where I came from with it. Literally. Like, that was exactly where I came from. Because my thing was, right out the gate, I'm like, why is this scene here? Why is this scene here? What is this scene meant to establish? Because my thing is, what I feel like what they were trying to do, they were trying to set up this idea. They were trying to already instill and set up the idea of, you know, the way Blacks are treated, not just in United States, but just in the world in general. You know what I'm saying? Like, even though, yes, we do experience police brutality way more than any other people in the world in this country, because police brutality is absolutely ridiculous here, especially with Black people and Black and brown people in the United States in particular. But I feel like what they were trying to do, they were trying to establish this conversation in the beginning scene, but in actuality, that conversation had jack shit to do with what was actually happening in the actual movie.
Right.
Because we're talking about why should white people not say the N-word? And I'm like, this has really nothing to do with what's actually happening in the movie.
Yeah, and I think also maybe they used it to give a little bit more legitimacy to the fact that they're in college, they're university students, and maybe they wanted to show them in a class having a serious conversation. But still, I feel like you could have gotten the aspect of them in college in a different way. That just didn't. I didn't need that.
No. And I mean, like, I think that what they wanted to do, like I said, was just show them as college students, but also there was many ways that they could have established this world of, you know, showing Blacks dealing with the real world of racism without trying to, you know, gaslight us with this beginning scene of like this woman saying the N-word. Like, you know, it was real, like it was almost to the point where it was almost kind of like they were doing it for shock value almost. And it was just kind of like, okay, all right, what is the point of this? If you're going to do something like that, at least let it be something that is going to happen throughout the movie somewhat. Like, give me something that is going to be like, if you're going to establish this, what we should have seen, honestly, is another character in the movie using that type of language. You know what I'm saying?
We didn't see that.
And we didn't see that. So it was just weird for this woman just out the blue at the very beginning, you know, giving this lecture about the usage of, you know, of slurs. Like, it was just random and just out of place.
Yeah, and to bring it back to the whole trigger warning thing we were talking about before, Sean was just appalled that this professor was using that word, and like Lena was saying, he was talking a lot about like having an issue with it, and like he was telling Kunle to say something to her, say something before I do, but like he wasn't going to say anything. And he's like, I can't believe she's saying this. And then he's like, Kunle is like, well, she did. There was a trigger warning. And he's like, where? And then it was in the syllabus.
That he obviously didn't read because he's not a student to do that.
Yeah.
So,
but on to... Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead. Oh no, I was just gonna say, like, let's just go ahead and let's just get these characters out the way so that people can know who the hell we're talking
about. That's what I was about to say. Let's get to some more fun stuff.
Yeah. So just to let y'all know, RJ Cyler's character is Sean. There's another character named Kunle. Kunle, and I got a bone to pick with that character, but we're gonna get to it. Kunle is actually Sean's friend in the movie. He is African.
Nigerian? Yeah.
I believe so. I believe he's Nigerian. He is African, and he's a very smart student, obviously. Like he's going to be a doctor, basically. So yeah. So it's like you have the kind of like street smarts guy being friends with the book smart guy, kind of a situation. So you already kind of see what kind of, situation is happening here. And also their roommate is a Latino dude whose name is Carlos, who is a aerospace engineer. Well, is going to school to be an aerospace engineer. But is it? Now, I don't know. Is he on the spectrum somewhat? Because I don't think they really established that, but I feel like he is.
I feel like he is.
Yes.
He's got a vibe. Like, he definitely got a vibe. Like,
he was high most of the time.
Yeah, but he also has like, I think for me, it was more of like, okay, his fanny pack with granola bars. I'm not saying people on the spectrum is like that, but it's like, there's certain things about that you cannot change. Like, it's just, they refuse to, because like, that's what gives them the most comfort, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, and he had like certain tics to him. Like they were like tics. Instead of them being like him being high, like there were like certain like behavioral tics.
Okay.
That I noticed that it was kind of like, are you high or are you actually on the spectrum? Which there's nothing wrong with. But it's just kind of like, I'm just trying to figure it out. Or maybe it's the way that the actor was playing it. Because I'm like, I'm getting the idea of like, I understand you are a pothead, but also at the same time, you're kind of giving me like, you might also be, on the spectrum as well. So I wasn't too sure on what their character was supposed to be. But, moving right along. So these are the main players of the movie, right? So of course, like Will and Lena were saying earlier, they were talking about going to this party. We're going to these, long thing of parties. So basically, it's like, I want to say, what was it?
We won.
It was 6 parties, right?
It was 6 parties. Only Sean and Kunle were going to go. Carlos, unfortunately, did not get any tickets. But Sean was supposed to get him one to one of the parties. Except Sean did not do that at all. So it's supposed to just be Kunle and Sean. And Carlos happened to be the roommate.
Right.
I didn't even pick up that he was going to get him 1-to-1, like a ticket to one. I thought he just was going to be him and Sean, or he is Sean.
Yeah, no, he was supposed to go to the one of them. I think it was like, I can't remember what it was called, but it was supposed to be like the one that was towards the end. And I asked him the one where they were like, remember at the beginning, he was like, oh, well, at least we can all go to this party, enjoy it. And Kunle at this point had already, gotten into a fight with Sean. So he was like, no, you go. And then, he's like, no, but you should come with us. It'd be so cool because it'll be our final last hurrah. And then that's when Kunle revealed that Sean never got him a ticket.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Poor guy.
Yes. And I mean, like, it's obvious that they just didn't really. It was one of those situations where it was kind of like, we fuck with you, but we don't fuck with you like that. Well, at least in Sean's case, it was like, I like you and all, but also I don't like you like that. Mm-hmm. That's what it kind of felt like, and that's kind of messed up in a way, because it's like, dag, like, y'all supposed to be like all cool.
Roommates.
Exactly, like y'all are roommates. Y'all supposed to be all cool, and you go behind your other roommate back and be like, "Okay, I'm going ahead and hang out with you, but bump my other roommate." You know what I'm saying? Like, that's kind of messed up. knowing that he was probably going to want to go. You know, so, but that's beside the point. So, you know, because we jumping all over the place. But to give y'all a little bit of context of what's going on. So basically, you know, so basically, as we pretty much established already, Kunle is the smart guy of the group. And basically he has these cultures that he's trying to do with his bacteria that he's trying to grow for his thesis. He's basically trying to tell Sean, look, you need to do your thing. You need to, you know, do your thesis to get your stuff out of the way. Sean is like, fuck it, whatever. I got 3 weeks, whatever, it's fine. Sean is all about partying. Sean is the party guy and all this stuff, even though everybody pretty much knows or pretty much has the idea that Sean ain't shit. Basically, just throwing it out there. Like, he ain't shit. So, and basically, like, he's going to end up pulling Kunle down. So, Kunle has this interest in this girl. And, you know, he's like, oh, well, he was basically going to go to the party just to basically be with her. That's what I figured. It was just like, you're doing all of this, not really because you really honestly want to hang with him, but really you honestly want to go and party with this girl. That's really what the real he is. But whatever. So basically they run out. He forgets to lock the cooler that is supposed to be, you know, cooling down his little bacteria so his bacteria can grow. So that's where the first issue happens.
So the reason why he had to lock the cooler is because the cooler's lock is broken. So in order for it to be secure, he has to physically lock it. That's why.
Right. So he didn't end up locking it. He just closed it, but it was open. So, but by the time they were leaving, he realized, oh snap, it's still open. That's where the first issue happens.
But to be fair, Sean rushed him out of there. So
he did.
You know, so like that's what he forgot. But if Sean didn't rush him, they wouldn't have.
He would have remembered.
Exactly. Because he left a whole note on there being like, "Lock the fridge, you idiot."
Exactly. So Sean ended up rushing him out. And so he's like, well, let me go ahead and go. It ain't gonna take a second. Sean's so pressed to get to this party. And that was one of the main things that I feel like is the reason why so many things was happening that was going wrong, is because Sean was so selfish and so selfish and so self-centered. It was just like, I gotta get this party. I gotta get this party just to be around a girl that don't want to fuck with you. Because homegirl already knew his tea. She was like, I know you ain't about nothing. Like, she already knew what he was about. And he wanted so hard to be around that girl. And it's like, boy, anyway. Like, so
to be fair, he did, but he also didn't, because she was only going to be at the one party or the two party, but he ultimately just wanted to complete the legendary tour so they could be the first Black guys to complete the legendary tour.
Right. But of course, you know, there always has to be obstacles, right? So, you know, of course he has to, they get back to the apartment, or to the house or whatever, and they find the door open. Now, this is when we run into Carlos. So apparently Carlos left the door unlocked. And as they're
a recurring issue for him.
Right. This is a known issue, which I'm like, y'all seem to live in the hood. So Carlos leaving this door unlocked. I'm sorry. I agree with Sean. At that point, I'm like, you leaving this door unlocked, boy, like, what's wrong with you? You know what I'm saying? Like, I would have lost my shit too. I'm not even gonna hold you. Like, why are you leaving the door unlocked? Like, what are you doing? So I could kind of understand, you know, dude getting mad with him, Sean getting mad. I get it. But Sean lost his shit, got mad at Carlos. As they're trying to get ready, they notice this little white girl on the floor. Knocked out. Thoughts. What did y'all think about this scene?
I thought she was dead at first. And I thought that Carlos did it. Actually, I thought that Carlos was dead in his room. But
My first thought was exactly what Sean thought. I'm like, oh no. These are two black guys that just walked into their own apartment with a white girl on the floor pass out. This is going to look so bad on them.
Exactly.
That's literally my first thought.
Yes. Now, I did like the arguments that were being presented, because basically the arguments were in the scene, the main arguments were Sean was saying, no, leave, basically do not call the police, don't do that, because if the police come and they see this girl is giving real, like, what are these, black and brown people doing with this white girl? You know what I'm saying? And they're not even gonna ask no questions. It's just gonna be, what did you do to her? Which actually that pops up later on as the movie go on. But they're just gonna immediately just, come guns a-blazing because they see a little white girl in danger. Well, think there's a little white girl in danger. Kunle is like, no, call the police, because call the police or take her to the hospital. Carlos is just there.
Question. Calling 911, that doesn't necessarily mean that the police will come. You can ask for. Wait,
they're gonna come.
No, it's usually all three. There's usually an ambulance, a fire truck, and the police.
Mm-hmm. Usually it is all three. Well, at least I know how it is out here. Like, if you call the ambulance, like, a policeman is gonna come.
Because they want to make
there may be just one, but they're gonna show up.
Because they want to make sure that they cover all their areas. So once they show up and they realize they're not neat, then they'll obviously they'll go. But they want to make sure they cover all areas. They want to make sure that someone isn't stuck, that he's, the fire department to help. There's no legal action for the police, The ambulance, obviously, in this case, the ambulance was needed, kind of a thing. But yeah, all three will show up. That's kind of how it is too in Canada. So I assume it's gonna be the same all over.
Yeah, well, you can tell I haven't really called 911.
Well, good. You don't need to call 911.
Right.
So, I had feelings on Sean's reaction, and it was, I understand where he's coming from, because you calling the police as a black person, we've heard stories like this where someone's called the police to get help and they get attacked.
Mm-hmm.
But man, if they would have done that sooner or done it at all, maybe the night that they had wouldn't have happened.
Well, true. That's what we thought too. But you already know the truth. You bring a black guy at the wrong place at the wrong time, they can ask questions. But I did love how they went through the group of ethnicity people. They're like, let's get the Asians in, because they're like freaking neutral to everything.
That had me hollering. I'm not going to lie. I laughed.
Cry laughing. In this case, I agree with Sean. Just saying.
Oh, no, I definitely agreed with Sean as well. My only issue was like, okay, don't have her in the house. Move her to the street and call the ambulance. Be like, oh, I found her outside. Boom. Get her out of here. Keep pushing.
Oh, better yet, call anonymously.
Exactly. Like, hey, there's a white girl in the middle of the street. Come get her. Boom. Move right along. I'm just saying that was my idea. Just be like, if y'all like, because actually taking her to the hospital yourselves is like already was going to raise suspicion anyway, and having them come over there while you there was also going to raise suspicion. So you might as well just go ahead and just move her to the street. Move her ass to the street and be like, hey, watch her, make sure the police come and get her, and keep pushing. I'm just saying. That's just me. But nevertheless. But no, like, so of course they decided on, taking her to the They decided on taking her to. First of all, they were going to go to a party and drop her off at the party, which I was like, that's fucking weird, but whatever.
Well, because it's based on her clothes.
Oh my God.
It's based on her clothes. They believe she came from this particular party, which they weren't wrong. So they figured
they weren't wrong.
If they drop her off at the party, there would be a lot of people that someone else might be able to help her. Hopefully, another white group of people, you know?
And now, I'm not going to hold you now. There's a scene where dude is peeing on somebody on like this fraternity's plaque. Now, I'm sorry, but I laughed at that scene, but also I was looking and I was like, wait a minute. Wait a minute.
Now.
I'm like, y'all showing pee? Not y'all showing penis? Oh my God. I was screaming, laughing at the scene. But then when I look, I'm like, wait a minute, is that his meat?
What
is happening?
My first thought was, wow, that's it.
Oh, not that's it. All right, y'all. Just to let y'all know, y'all fuck with Lena, you better have a monster. Because she gonna be looking at you like you drop your drawers and you ain't got that much. She gonna look at you crazy. Just letting you know now. You better have a whole lot.
All I'm saying is that boy was brave to pull it out. So
I mean, you're right.
You know, you're asking for a judgment when you're pulling it out in the middle of the street. But to be fair, guys, if you know how to use it, it does not matter.
Oh, ding, ding, ding! Right on that one. But but no, like, so of course they realized that like we can't drop her off here, and you know, obviously they had to rush her back or whatever.
There was a debate on that though, because the initially Sean just wanted to drop her off right in front, and then like Kunle, who has some sense, is like, no, like the girl could have been found by a horny, horrible person and assaulted, and that would have been on them. But it seemed like Sean wouldn't have cared.
I mean, personally, I'm with Sean on that one because honestly, it's like that ain't really none of our business anyway. Just saying. I mean, it sounds bad, but and I get it. I get it, but also at the same time, it's like, first of all, how the fuck did she even end up in your house?
Well,
now all of a sudden, now she's the responsibility.
And that's what I was just gonna say, because she just got lucky she ended up in the right house where these guys
exactly
were to her. If she had got unlucky and ended up in like, I don't know, a serial killer's house or like some
it's really
house. You know, I'm just saying, like, all I know is like at the end of the day, here's my biggest thing with like people and partying. If you're gonna do it safely, but don't do it stupidly, you know? And surround yourself with people that you know will help take care of you if you can't handle your alcohol, if you can't handle your drug, like whatever it might be, you know?
It wasn't this girl's fault, as we found out later, because she shouldn't. The person that brought her to the party was an idiot and should not have brought her there.
It wasn't her fault, yes, but it was her fault for actually agreeing to go to an adult party.
Well, I mean,
okay, the cat's out of the bag. This is a little girl that was brought to a college party by her big sister for whatever freaking reason. That was dumb. Why would you bring a kid to a college party with you and just leave her to her own devices? Like, what?
And that's why, and honestly, and that's why she was acting the way she was, you know, because she did not want to accept the fact that it was her fault. Like, she wanted to blame everybody else because she was a dumbass who brought her little sister
she was
into that party
annoying.
And let her get drunk and let her get into that situation. It was her fault.
It was so her fault. So her fault.
Oh, yeah.
And I wanted to slap her so badly. And her friends helping her, she was being such a little brat.
Mm-hmm.
Now, here's the thing. Now, with the friends that was helping her trying to find her sister, Now, what was really kind of like bugging me out, I'm not even gonna hold you. What was really bugging me out about them was the fact that they were like legit trying to help her. And she was just being such an ass the whole time. And it's like, girl, I understand you drunk. And I understand, like, you know, you lost your sister, so you scared. But also, it's like, just like old girl said, like her friend said, she was like, look, I understand, but you also can't be catching attitudes with people who are like trying to help you. Now, granted, now I'm not even gonna hold you. I did kind of laugh when she was talking to the guy who was with her friend, and she was like, "Who are you?" He was just like volunteering his services, and she's just like, "Why are you here? Who are you?" That part kind of made me laugh. I was like, "Yes," because who are you? Like, who are you, sir? Like, what are you doing? But here's my thing, right? So we basically, you know, she pulls out, like, she finds the idea of trying to track her phone. Well, her friend points out, you know, find her using, you know, the Find Your Friend app or whatever. So she decides to do that. Now, here's my issue with the movie. First of all, like, I'm confused on how much time has passed because they caught up with them really fast. So either they weren't that far away from each other or enough time passed to where when they were stopped, they had enough time to actually get close enough to find them and actually be able to find the van that they were in. Because I'm like, that shit was kind of fast for y'all to find them. I thought that was a little weird that they found them as fast as they did the first time. But I'm like, okay, whatever.
My thing was, where the heck did they find a bike and a what were their called? I know, like, it was like
those they're not scooters, or no, they're not skateboards, but they are like electric and you
like
stand on them horizontally. Hoverboard, yeah.
Right.
I think.
Yeah, like where did they find that? Like at the end of the day, like they were at a party.
The party was a frat house. So I think the guy was from the frat house. He lived there. So he would have known where to find those things.
I guess.
Listen, all I know is that at the end of the day, they caught up to them real fast. And I was like, how? But anyway. But here's the thing. So old girl was in and out of consciousness. Now, this is the part where I was like, okay, this is where I kind of started to suspect Carlos as like not really so much high, but like on the spectrum. Yeah. Because I'm like, you're not reading the room very well. Like, there's a lot of things you're doing that just doesn't make sense. So the old girl is like passed out. She's in and out of consciousness, and he opens up a bottle and it's like, oh, drink this. This will make you feel better.
Oh my God. I yelled at the damn TV on that part.
What the fuck are you doing? I'm like, dude, that could have been a bottle that, now I'm not saying that Sean would have done this because but I do know dudes do this, but that could have been a bottle that he pissed in or something or anything like that. And you're just opening a random bottle and it's like, here, drink this. This will make you feel better. What is wrong with you? Like, why would you not ask? Like, it just, oh God, like I was so annoyed. But then I was like, and I was like, well, hold on, Brandon, give him some space because he might not be, like, he might be on the spectrum or something, so give him some space. But I'm just like, what is wrong? Like, why would you do that? And like, it was just things like that. And then like, of course, when they pulled over or whatever, and they got the idea because like, obviously when they left the frat boy house, one of the guys broke the back tail light out. So they were like, we need to switch the car just so that we won't be, suspected of, we won't draw suspicion. So of course they go to Sean's brother's house, and Sean's brother is like, basically Sean lies to his brother and tell him that they need the car for Kunle's grandmother. Which Kunle is sitting here like, why you brought my grandmother in this? But like, it's revealed that it's a lie. And so they have to get back in the van. Before they get there, Carlos is talking to old girl. She wakes up and Carlos is talking to her. And it's revealed that she is underage. Now,
her name is Emma.
And her name is Emma. Now, of course, Emma is the boy, he's talking to her. And the whole entire time he's talking to her, I'm sitting here like, why are you talking to this girl like this? Like, it's just like, what is happening? Like, what is going on? Like, it was just so many things that I was just asking myself. I'm like, what is going on? So it's revealed that old girl is, a 12th grader in high school. She's underage. And, now they're like, oh, now we have a minor. Our asses are definitely in trouble. So obviously it comes to find out that they catch up with them and find out, that it's them. Well, they didn't catch them at that point, but they saw the van. So they're like, after the van, obviously they call the police, and they're basically being like, oh, this girl, they think that the old girl's sister is being kidnapped. First of all, the dispatcher didn't want to believe her, which I thought was real funny, because that dispatcher was like, over it, honey. She was like, girl, bye. Okay. She was like, girl, whatever. But obviously her friend jumped in, because like Emma's sister, the one who brought her there, was drunk as a skunk and was just like, she had all the mouth in the world. So it's like, okay, girl, bye. So her friend ended up taking over. She ended up smoothing it over. Fast forward, now Emma wakes up in the car. She realizes, she seeing what's going on, but she don't know where she at. She's out of it. She basically starts trying to fight get out the car. They run off the side of the street. And now old girl runs out into the woods and they can't find her.
I'm sorry. First of all, I just have to say something. I understand waking up and like obviously panicking because now you're in a car full of guys and you're like, why the frick am I even here? I get that. I totally do. But I think like in that moment in time, if you just, how do I say this? Like, you're already in the moving van. So whatever is happening is already too late for you. I'm just putting out the reality. I know that sounds really like what are you saying? But anyways, take 2 seconds to realize, okay, why am I in this van? Who are these people? Because like I said, at the end of the day, you're already there. So take it in. Are you being restrained? Heck no. Okay. So is my clothes still on? Okay. Yes, they're still on. Like, take a second to read the situation, right? But instead, she freaks out. She starts punching everybody and almost causing a whole accident. And then when she finally gets out, I don't know why, but why would your first thought be, let me run into the forest?
Create, I understood that. I feel like she did it to create distance, because if she just ran through the dark road, it would have been easier for them to find her.
No, I get that. But like, how would you even know where you're going in the middle of the forest in the night, in the dark?
I mean, this girl didn't remember anything. She didn't remember anything. She didn't know how she got there. She's waking up disoriented, still hungover. What the hell else was she going to do?
My question is, how the fuck did she get in that tree? That's what I want to know.
Josh probably jumped in there like an idiot.
The boys ended up finding her in the woods. looked up and saw her puking on a tree branch.
But it was right. But all of that was right after they got into a really heated argument, which I kind of understood everybody's side. I understood everybody plain and simple. My only thing was let me not say everybody. I understood Sean and Kunle. Carlos, I'm just like, that mug was just a fly on the wall the whole entire movie. Like, it was just almost kind of like to the point where I'm like, why are you here? Like, there were several moments in this movie that made me ask, why is this character in this situation? Like, why are you here? Because it's almost kind of like you have no real reason for being here other than just the neutral party. You have Sean over here with this opinion, you have Kunle with this opinion, and Carlos is just he's not even the intersectional point. He's just, or not even like he's just there. Like he gave no nothing to anything.
I haven't seen this movie in years, but did Superbad have something like this with the two best friends in McLovin? Was one of them just randomly there?
I believe so, actually.
Was it McLovin? He was just there?
No, it wasn't McLovin, I don't think. But I believe that there was another friend.
I gotta watch that again.
Yeah, I have to watch Superbad again. But, it's just one of those things that I'm just like, I just don't like the way they played that character. It was just like, he had, like, it'd have been different if Carlos agreed with both of them or had an opinion for himself. But Carlos had no opinion. So it's just like, if you have no opinion, why are you here? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just like, it's one thing to agree with both of them and see all sides, which I feel like that's what they were trying to do with the character. But to have him just have no opinion whatsoever just feels very, it just leaves me asking the question, like, why, like, what's your purpose? It's like you don't really serve a purpose in this scene. And you don't really add anything. So it's just like, I don't know, like, just Carlos's character just really just bugged me. In any fight that they had, his character just really irritated me. But basically, Kunle ripped into Sean's ass because
fuck out of him.
Because and rightfully so. Because Sean was acting real stupid because, like, in the beginning of the movie, when they first found old girl, Sean was like, you're not calling the police. You're not doing it. He was very adamant and almost like really like threatening. Like, you're not calling her. But then when Kunle called him out for it, he's like, well, I didn't make you not call. And it's like, my God, yes, you did. Yes, you did. And that's Sean.
Like that at all.
And that was Sean's whole problem throughout the movie. It was like, Sean talked the big game, but when it came down to execution, Sean was, excuse my language, he was a pussy. He was smart, and he's very street smart.
A good word to use.
Well, I mean, they do say in the movie, like,
because pussy gave up birth to a whole ass child.
Yeah, right. Like, pussy is tough. You call him a wiener or some shit, which I'm like, yes, call him a wiener then.
You're right.
Pussy got power.
Pussy got power. They can do things.
Yeah, and that can be taken in so many different ways.
Yeah, many different ways. No, like, he was being a punk. Like, he certainly was being a coward throughout the entire movie, and Kunle called him out for it. So, it was like, and then of course he did what he normally would do, deflect, because he knew doggone well Kunle was right. So obviously the girl found him and she started beating him with a stick because she thought that they kidnapped her sister. Instead of just going ahead and coming out and telling them, hey, we found her. She was in our room. She was in our house. It's like, first thing they do is they're like, well, we're friends of hers. It's like, why would you say that?
Right.
Why would you say that?
You know what?
You could have easily just told her the truth and was like, look, she was drunk. She probably in our house and we're trying to get to the hospital.
You know what? I can kind of understand because I think they panic. Like, I guess like in their like, you know, when you panic, you lie. Like, I'm not gonna lie. Like, I had a situation, I rarely ever lie. Like, I literally almost never. But long story short, I made a mistake. I threw out something I shouldn't have thrown out when I was cleaning one of my locations. And the girl came up and asked me if I seen it. I'm not gonna lie. I looked straight in her eyes and I went, nope. So fast because I panicked. I legit panicked. So I think in their mind, they just panic. So I can understand that. But I think also too, like, I think what's panicked them too is the fact that she held a large ass stick, you know? I think in her case, what she should have done was go up and try to take a moment to kind of be like, you know, that's my sister. Like, what are you guys doing with her? Like, who are you people, right? I think that would have been a better approach because then they would have been like, oh, that's your sister. Oh, yeah. Like, then the truth would have came out, if that makes sense. But because she came all ready to attack, they panic.
Well, that's the thing, because that's basically exactly what happened. Because, like, when, you know, old dude, Carlos came out and was like, and he found out that the dude that was with them was his cousin, you know, that's when they were like, oh, we now feel more comfortable enough to actually, like, tell you the actual truth of what happened. But by that point, with them already lying, talking about that, like, they were friends, already now, old girl, the sister, is like, I don't believe nothing you're saying. Which, rightfully so, but, I would still kind of feel away. I would feel away.
So she was ready to fight no matter what. She was ready to fight the operator for no reason. She was ready to fight anybody. She was ready to fight. Like, she had so much attitude. It was ridiculous.
Absolutely. I'm not defending her whatsoever, but I'm just saying, like, I agree 100%. Like, she had an attitude the whole time and she needed somebody to smack her one good time. But like, I could understand that was one moment where I was like, that anger was actually warranted. Because it's like, I don't believe you at this point because you already done lied to me about this.
Right.
So it's like, I could understand her that one point, that one time. I could understand her being like, nah, I'm not fucking with y'all.
But the thing is, she could have just...
But I get it.
But she could have easily just been like, you're lying to me. I'm her sister.
I mean, she did. While also, you know, attacking them. Like, because the whole entire time she was like yelling at them and stuff, being like, you're liars.
Right.
So it's like,
that's what I was just gonna say. Like, she's hitting them and yelling at them. So obviously they're not gonna take it in. They're like, wait, they're taking the fact that they're being physically abused, right? So I don't know. Like, it's just like, I think if I was being hit too, my first thought is, how much danger am I in? You know, like, I'm not thinking like, oh, she's talking to me or she's yelling at me. What is she saying? So again, at the same time, it's like, she's just acting unnecessarily. Like, if she just blur out, you're lying, she's my sister, all that would have been avoided. They were like, oh, you're her sister. Oh, okay. Then they would be like, okay, well, here's the real truth. You know, like.
But I feel like that too, though, is a slippery slope, because it's like, looking at the situation, just look, not even knowing what's going on, your first instinct, if I know, and I'm sorry, but I would react that way too. Now, granted, I wouldn't be like her, but I would be kind of like, what are you doing with my sister? I know she don't know you. You know what I'm saying? I would do that. If someone blurts out, wait, I know her, we're friends. Like, obviously, I'll be like, you're lying.
But Brennan, to be fair, she doesn't even know her sister.
What do you mean she don't know her sister?
She doesn't know her sister.
She doesn't know her sister.
No, like, the way she's acting, she does not know her sister well. She was all like, I don't want to hang out with her. I don't want to do it. Like, how do you know her friends don't make, like, her sister make friends that, like, you don't even know about? Like, you don't know that. You don't even know these guys.
Girl, no, Lena. Now, these dudes are college dudes. You know doggone well this girl's in high school. She don't know them boys.
Well, just because
that's why I'm like, sis.
Yeah, but that's why I'm like, because she's in high school doesn't mean she doesn't know older boys. I remember when I was in high school.
That's true.
Knew older boys. Like, I was in, like, the 8th grade. And I knew guys that went to, like, that were basically near graduation of, like, high school. So you never know. Like, you never know.
But also, too, but think about this, though. Is that right that you being in middle school knowing these older boys like that though?
Well, whether or not it was right, I did know them.
But that's the point. That's the point I'm making, is the fact that now, mind you, it is her fault that she should have been watching her sister and paying attention to her. But also at the same time,
you should never brought her to that party. Ultimately,
listen to what I'm saying. Listen to what I'm saying. I understand that you are exactly right. But what I'm saying is, she also is like, also being like, why would you know? You are a teenager. You are literally in the 12th grade. There is no, even if you do, say for example, you do know these boys. Why are you letting these boys carry you around like that? That one, like, I understood where she was coming from in that kind of anger, because it's like, you talking about, you know her. Why would you say that you know her like that? And you're like, and obviously these dudes are allegedly, even though they don't look that old, but like they're supposed to be like graduating from college, which means they're like over 21, like 21 to maybe 22. So you're talking about a 17-year-old knowing 22-year-olds. Yeah, I would be angry too. If I was her sister, I would be angry too. I'm not even gonna lie to you. I would be angry. I would absolutely be angry.
I feel the opposite, because I feel like it's not that far of an age gap for people to know each other. And we don't know how big this town is either. We don't know the context of this town. Like, you never know.
I'm just saying, I would be tripping if all of a sudden my sister is drunk and passed out, and being chauffeured around with a bunch of older men. I would be flipping out too. I'm just saying.
I wouldn't be freaked. Okay, first of all, at the end of the day, she should have been there, but she's the one that ditched her younger sister, right?
Yeah. Absolutely.
So I agree. Of the day, instead of being angry, you should find out what is happening. What did you do to your own sister? Because everything that happened to her because of you. So why are you angry at somebody else?
Well, we saw that this girl doesn't take accountability.
Right.
So she's
anger,
leading with anger.
Yeah. So her anger has no place in what is happening.
It does, though. I feel like it does. Now, granted, like, is the anger displaced? Yes. But I would definitely be raising eyebrows if I didn't know the situation. No. And all of a sudden, like, I see these grown men with my little sister. I would be raising eyebrows. Now, granted, like I said, no, of course, she's not taking accountability for her actions because of the simple fact that, it's like, if you had been watching her, this wouldn't have happened. Yes, I do understand that. But also at the same time, it's like, looking at the situation, anybody, I'm sorry, but anybody would be like, yo, why are you with my little sister like that? I'm sorry, but no. Like, no. Nobody would be okay with that.
I wouldn't necessarily agree with it, because, like, kind of what we go, like, I just feel like if none of these guys actually look that much older than her, the younger sister didn't look that young.
But they're graduating seniors.
It's still like, that's,
it doesn't matter how old they look. They're graduating seniors, which means they're 21, 22 years old.
But the thing is, she doesn't know that.
That's my point. That's my point. That's my point. She doesn't know what's going on, which means all she's doing is she's making a blind reaction off of what's happening. These are older men carrying around her sister, who is passed out drunk. Older. Lena, it's obvious they are older men. Just because they don't look that much older, it's obvious that they are older than her.
Bottom line is, her sister shouldn't have been at any party with her, period.
Right. Yes, her sister should have never been there. But all I'm saying is, anybody who is just like in that frame of mind, like automatically, like, I'm just trying to find out why my sister is in this van, and every 5 minutes this van is going, and I don't know where it's going. Then I see these dudes, hopping, trying to put her in the van. Like, yes, I would be sitting here looking crazy and trying to figure out what's going on. Absolutely. And then she find out that they're older men. Like, come on. I'm just saying, I think I agree with her for, like, having the initial thought, but the whole thing of her just not listening to what they were trying to tell her, that was when it became a problem. Because then at that point, it did kind of seem like there was some undertone going there where it was kind of like, okay, you're not really listening to what they're saying anymore. I can understand the initial argument or the initial thing of being like, okay, I don't know who you are. I understand that 100%, but it kept going to the point where she didn't want to listen to them at all. Even her friend had to be like, yo, like, you know, like, what are you doing? You know what I'm saying? Like, listen to them. They're trying to tell you, like, I mean, everything they're telling you is matching up. Like, everything they're telling you makes sense. So, like, just listen to them. And she's like, no, they're liars. They're liars. They're liars. So automatically, you know, at that point, it's like, yeah, like there is some undertone going there. But the initial reaction is understandable, in my opinion. Like, it is understandable, but she just took it way too far because she already accused them of doing something that they didn't do out the gate. Like, she already made a prejudgment.
Right. But the thing is, did she accuse them because of the color of their skin? Or did she accuse them because she genuinely believed that? Because I also felt like she also accused them right away because the fact of who they were. If they were white men, would they have done the same thing? You know, and so it's just like, but then and that's what makes me wonder, like, would she have reacted the same way?
If they were older frat boys, probably not.
Right. Where the anger is, like, so I just feel like her anger had no place. Like, she should never even reacted that way.
I'm not going to say she shouldn't have. No, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm not going to say she shouldn't have. I'm not going to say she shouldn't have.
I personally feel like she shouldn't have.
I don't know. I mean, I personally think I personally say, like, the initial reaction, I completely, coming from a place of just, why are you carrying her around? Yes. But that's where it stops. Like, but like I said, the way she kept going with it, there was, like you said, there was definitely some undertones there that was like, if it were, you know, probably some, you know, white frat boys, she wouldn't have been doing that. If she, once they explained it, she probably would have left it alone. But because it was some black dudes, it was like,
and that's,
you know,
that's screwed up because at least from a lot of the cases that we've seen in the news, if it was a group of white frat boys, then her sister more than likely would have been harmed.
Oh, for sure.
Absolutely.
I think there's another thing with they're giving kind of a social commentary on how black, you know, like young black men or young men of color, since Carlos was there too, are viewed by white people. Because we didn't mention before everyone met up and we got to this point, when the boys were driving around with Emma in the car, Kunle was trying to get Sean to pull over because he was high and he had been drinking. So when they finally pulled over in a neighborhood, there was this white woman that was looking at them through her window, and then when they were about to get ready to leave, they had gotten out of Sean's car, and the white woman and her husband came out questioning what they were doing there, accusing them of selling drugs and telling them to get out of their neighborhood. And that was another moment that, like, ooh, made me cringe.
Yeah, like that was one of the more overtly, you know, overt scenes of just like blatant racism, of just like, okay, what is happening? Which also kind of made me be like, this movie is once again not funny anymore. But you know, so of course they're like moving right along, trying to like hurry up and get her to the whatchamacallit. Now at this point, Sean is like, I don't want them to do this no more. Like, y'all can take this little white girl to the hospital, but I'm not doing this anymore. I'm not a part of it. My name is Bennett and I'm not in it. So he dips out. And like old girl, like, and leaves, Kunle with them or whatever. Old girl starts going cold. They're like, oh shit, like she's in trouble. So obviously Carlos is trying to do the best he can, try to get him to the emergency room. The cops try to pull him over. So Carlos is leading the cops on a wild goose chase. Like, it is a whole chase scene, child. Now it's like Carlos basically gets gets cornered by the police, which they're right at the emergency room, thank goodness. And first thing, and this is the part that I'm just like, oh my God. First things first, when they see, now here's the thing. What was really making me upset is the fact that the friend is banging on the window. And I'm like, girl, stop banging on the window.
Yeah, because they thought that she was a hostage.
They thought that she was a hostage.
And they literally said it through their loudspeaker. And that's interesting because they had called the group that comprised of Emma's big sister. They had called 911 again when they saw I think they saw them taking Emma out so she could go pee. Or when they brought her back from the woods to get into the car, my bad. And then they called and they were like concerned and they let them know what was going on. And then of course they heard her go off to fight the boys. So that was interesting that they did finally send some responders out to the scene, but like for it to get that far, that was crazy.
Yeah, like I'm just like, this is absolutely ridiculous. Like, why are you banging on the door like that, on the window? Like, you're making it seem like you're a hostage. They put him over. The policeman pulls open the van. He sees Kunle immediately. And is like, drags him out, puts a gun on him, drags him out, all this stuff. The drunk girl, the sister of the girl, is freaking out, like, oh, you gotta save my sister, save my sister. She's freaking the fuck out, which is making everything worse. And her friend is just like, calm your ass down. She's spazzing. Like, it's just a whole shit show. And the whole entire time you see, and this is the part that gets me, is when you see all of the boys of color on the ground, or in a position of like, oh, we're being detained, and you see the two white girls all huddled up, like, you know what I'm saying, like with no problem, and I'm like. Mm-hmm. Oh, I see what you did there, and I don't like it.
I did like the fact that Emma's sister Maddie, she was trying to she's trying to explain to the cops, like, yo, like they're trying to help her. Like, no, don't like that. That was frustrating because they weren't listening to her, and then eventually they walked over to the car and pistol whipped Conway. Oh my God, that I thought he was gonna die.
I just knew he was gonna die. Like, yeah. I just knew. I was like, oh, this boy is gonna die. And that was the moment where I was like, okay, this movie is okay. This is a lot. Like, this is a lot. And it just, and this is why I said at the very beginning of this episode, I said I had a bone to pick with Kunle, because I do. Here's the thing. I hate when movies try to paint Africans like they don't know what racism is. Like, they don't know police brutality. Like, they don't know what any of this stuff is. I'm like, first of all, this movie was made in this movie is literally based in today's times, which means that I don't care where the hell you from, you got the internet. You have the internet. So you know what is happening. You know what's happening all around the world. So there's no reason as to why you don't know what's going on. That's A. B, let's also be very clear. I hate, and this is just something that I noticed that a lot of movies like to do with specifically Africans. What they like to do is they like to try to paint Africans as these people who are extremely ignorant of certain things. And it's like, y'all have dealt with racism. You know exactly what this gives. Hello. Nobody has nobody ever seen Hotel Rwanda? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, Africans know what it's like to deal with racism. Like, it boggled my mind so much to the point where it's like, even at the beginning of the movie, Kunle is like, you know, the police don't really shoot down people like that. Like, isn't there statistics out there that shows that people don't really die like by the hands of the police that much? And it's like, and Sean is like, what are you talking about? That's a lie. Like, Black people die by the police all the time. Like, it's like, duh, dude. Like, it's the ignorance that they tried to paint Kunle as, where he was just like, he's extremely book smart, but he's not street smart. Whereas Sean was the more street smart one, but not as book smart. And I'm like, I just don't believe, and it's just me, like, I just hate that type of character where it's like, oh my God, you know, now that I know, oh no, like, you know, now I understand what it's like to be an African American. Now I understand what African Americans have to go through with the police. And it's just like, oh, we are not telling this. We're not having this kind of dialogue. We're not. And that's what that scene was giving me. Like, that is basically what the ending of the movie gave me. And instead of invoking the emotion of being like, oh my God, I literally cringed. And not from like the traumatic, like, oh my God, but from like, are we really doing this? Because I just don't believe that this character, being in the 2022s, being of this era, I don't believe that this guy would have been that ignorant. I don't care. And it's like, from my understanding, is he because I don't even think that he's like originally from Africa but moved here. Like, did they make that distinction, or was he here for a while? I don't know. Because had they said that in the movie, I might have a little bit of grace, and even then I don't think I would. But it just kind of seemed like he should have been here, even if he was here for a year. This movie came out last year in 2021, which means if he was here even for a year, well, not counting 22 because they're 20 because not counting 2020 because everything shut down, but even if he was here in 2019, say for example he came in 2019, there were plenty of situations that happened in 2019 that was like eye-opening, dealing with Blacks and the police. So you mean to tell me you didn't hear about none of this stuff? You didn't know about none of this? Like, it just boggled my mind, where I'm just like, to the point where I'm like, he had to have been there for at least 4 years. Because apparently, like, they were seniors. So you had to have been in the United States for 4 years. Had to. So in the 4 years that you've been here, you ain't heard none of the stuff that was happening? Like, I'm just like, dude, no. And hanging around with Sean definitely would have told you what was going on. You know, it just really bothered me. Like, I was just like, we are not playing this game. So I was annoyed. Did you feel the same way? What was your reaction to it? And it's okay if you don't have a reaction to it, but that was just my opinion.
I don't know. I don't know why I didn't look at it that way. Like the African aspect, because initially at one point I actually forgot because he didn't have an accent, so that makes me think that he was over here for a while. I more so kind of thought like the Carlton Banks thing from um Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. He was a privileged kid, so he didn't understand how bad it is for African American young men until he experienced it himself.
And I think my initial thought was maybe kind of similar to what Will is saying, is that maybe he just kind of hung around different groups of people growing up, that he never was, in a situation where he felt like his life was ever in danger,
Mm-hmm.
I that's the only thing I could think of, because it kind of like what you said, like, you're right, he didn't have an accent, and so that goes to show that he was either born in America, or because you can still be born in America and still have your family instill like values like that into you, right?
Mm-hmm,
Especially when you're the first child of the family. There's so much to uphold, like, you must do this because we came here so that you could have a better life. We did this for you, et cetera, right? But yeah, so like him not having an accent couldn't, like you said, well, he could have came out at a young age, or he was born in America. And it seems like his parents work really, really hard to give him the best life that they could possibly give him. So that could also possibly entail, living and growing up in a very privileged neighborhood where maybe not necessarily saying racism didn't exist, but maybe he was always in a situation where he was able to get away with things and go under the radar because of maybe the kind of people he just usually hung around with or surround himself with, or maybe he was the opposite. Maybe he just didn't have a lot of friends. I don't actually really know, because he doesn't seem like that kind of guy, but he also did. And didn't seem like he usually talked to girls either. So he could be very, very sheltered growing up as well. So that's probably why he never been in situations like that either, But it's funny you mentioned that too. Like a perfect example of something like that could also be where he lived. So my friend she grew up in a neighborhood where it's basically all Browns. And now she knows, but before she didn't. So I would used to tell her all the things that happened to me when at work, where I am faced with both sexism and racism. It's unfortunate, but it happens, right? And so I would always kind of tell her all these things that are happening to me, and etc. And more often than not, she doesn't seem to agree with me or see it. And I just never understood why, like I never, in the beginning, I didn't understand why she didn't see it, why she didn't understand it, because I'm thinking to myself, well, she's a Canadian herself and she is a person of color. So why doesn't she see it, And then it dawned on me that she doesn't see it or feel it because she grew up in a community where like her family has surrounded themselves with similar people, either like a lot of brown people, or similar people where no one ever really gave them a hard time, or they never noticed the difference, And then she recently started, like at some point later on in life, she started working at the airport. And obviously at the airport you deal with all kinds of people, right? And this is where, as a young adult, is where she was faced for the first time in her life both sexism and racism. And she came back to me and she was like, this happened to me today. And she was, outraged. And I'm like, oh, that's mild. What are you talking about? Mm-hmm. But for her, it was like severe because she's surprised, she's shocked. Like that has never happened to her before. So that was when I also realized it's because of the community that she grew up in. So that could be very similar to Kimley, where he grew up in a community where he probably never even noticed it until he's placed in a situation later on with Sean that he finally experienced it for the first time in his life. and it's unfortunate. But it happened, and now is going to stick with him until he becomes desensitized to it at some point, or not desensitized, but like, I'm not sure what the right word for it, but like for me, for example, I've gotten to a point in my life where, I get people tell me, oh, your English is so good. And I'd be like, well, is it though? Because I feel like I can't pronounce half the words and I can't even speak Cantonese properly either. So I don't really know, like it's either English or Cantonese for me. And I can't even speak neither properly. And then, so like, I often laugh at that. Right. But, I come to a point in my life where I have fun with it. So my favorite is around Christmas time when people say to me, man, it must be so hard to be away from your family. You must miss them, especially around the holidays, right? And I remember I said to the customer who said this to me was like, well, it is tough. I can see that, especially since I've been at work all day. So it's hard not to spend time with them. I can understand that. And the first they didn't pick up on that, right? So then they said, well, when are you going to see them next? And I said, well, at 9:00 when I close up and I drive 7 kilometers to go home, I will be seeing them. And that's when it hit them that like, they're like, wait, your family's here? I'm like, yeah, they're at home. Like they're not here, but they're at home where I live, 7 kilometers away from here. I'm not going to tell you the address because that's just weird. and they're like, wait, what? So your family isn't back home? I was like, well, no, they are home. We're in the home that I'm gonna go home to, so I come to a point in my life where I just kind of have fun with it, like I just can't, like, so maybe at some point we will learn to sort of have a certain extent of fun with it. Obviously not with the whole cop thing. That's never going to be fun. But I mean, like, dealing with racism and people and different comments and all that stuff. So I find that with myself, I just come to a point where I just kind of have fun with it and I don't let it bother me so much, right? Even though it's not right, but maybe having that conversation with me will teach them not to assume that because I'm a person of color, that my family's in whatever country they think they are at. Yeah, going back to that, I think that's probably why I never thought too much about Khayman Lee's character and had that perspective that you had, Brennan. I just thought maybe he just grew up in a very sheltered community where he didn't get a lot of interaction with the outside world.
Mm-hmm. So the cops have Khayman Lee on the ground.
Yeah.
Thankfully, they didn't pull the trigger.
I know. Yeah. Oh my God. When that happened, I was just like, this is exactly like a Sean's fear. He knew it was going to happen.
Racial profiling.
There you go. Racial profiling. It's the thing. Like, it happens. I haven't personally hear as a common thing here. And not that I'm saying it's not. I'm sure it does happen. I just personally haven't had any friends that have told me similar stories that it has happened too. But I know you guys, and of course, many other people I've met, especially in America, it's a very common thing for you guys, and it's so unfortunate.
It is, and it's just one of those things where it's like, and I think that's what kind of gets me with, and I mean, I understand exactly where you're coming from with the being raised in a like almost like a bubble kind of a situation. So I get it. I just feel like at this point, in this grown up age of the 2000s, of the 2020s, I just feel like we are a society now where it doesn't matter. You could be growing up in a bubble, and you can be growing up in a bubble, but you would still somehow get some taste of what's going on in the real world, even if you're not getting it accurately. Somehow you're going to get the information. You may not get it correctly, but you're going to get the information. And I just don't see how this character, being of this era, especially of the technological era, I don't see how this character just didn't know any of this stuff. Like it's just very hard. It's just very hard for me to believe that, especially with him being Black. It's just like, and I'm not even gonna say African, Black. Like it's just real hard for me to be like, you a whole Black dude. Like, and it's like they're not gonna differentiate between, oh, you're from Africa. You're like the from Africa kind of Black guy. Like they're not going to differentiate that. They're going to see a Black man and say he's a Black man. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, it just, that kind of knowledge to me, it doesn't matter, you know, where you're from. I just feel like at some point, even if you've never even engaged with anybody, you know what I'm saying? Like, even if you never had anybody tell you, which I'm pretty sure Sean was educating him the whole entire time. It was the whole situation of he didn't want to listen to Sean. It's different if the information was never posed to you. But because he had to figure it out for himself, that's where I'm having to disconnect. Because it's like, it's different. I find that, I guess and I'm mainly using my own experiences, I guess. But I find that, and I grew up in Black suburbia. Like I didn't grow up in like I guess like quote unquote hood type of like a hood upbringing or anything like that, quote unquote, like many people think Black people do. Yes, Black people, Black people do grow up in suburbia. We do. But you know, it's one of those situations where even though I grew up that way, and my childhood was, I didn't grow up like rich and lavish, obviously. But, well, not obviously, let me not say that. But like, I didn't grow up rich and lavish, but I had a decent childhood. But my thing is, at the end of the day, if my parents wouldn't have taught me like what being Black was in the United States of A, my surroundings definitely did. My friends told me. People I went to school with, like they told me their reactions. They told me their situations. They told me their stories. You know, and when I actually was faced with it myself, I automatically knew what not to do, what to do because of things that people already have told me. But the way that old dude reacted, it was like no one never told him this.
Maybe just a thought, and I know it because it's similar to my friend too. Maybe being told is not something that would allow them to make the connection. Maybe by having him have to experience it himself like he did, made him finally realize, like finally saw, because I know that happened to my friend. Like she could never understand. She did exactly what he did, you know, trying to justify it, trying to be like, maybe you're in the wrong, like just saying all the things, you know? And I'm like, no, there's no way. And the thing is, I don't go around being like, oh, people are racist. I don't do that. But if I have a comment being made at me, especially with the whole, like, you know, your family, it must be so hard to be away from your family during the holidays. Like, that's a straight up racist assumption. Why would you assume that I'm a person of color, that my family's got to be in another goddamn country?
Right.
Why? Why would you assume that is a thing, you know? So when stuff like that happens, you know, like, and my friend would literally try to justify that. She's like, oh, but like, what if you misunderstood that? No, they flat out asked me if it's hard for to be away from my family during the holidays. That is not me misunderstanding. That is not me looking into further than I need to, you know, like, so.
Right.
I remember how frustrated I got trying to explain it to her, you know. I was basically Sean in this situation. And it wasn't even as like brutal as, you know, what happened to Akule in the end, right? But even that, she didn't understand. She could not make that connection whatsoever. She didn't want to believe it, you know? And then she finally was faced with her own racism, and it was like, oh my God, racism exists. Well, no shit, Sherlock. It's been existing. Like, what do you know? So it's just, and as frustrating as frustrating as it may be, and Kumle needed to experience that on his own. And I understand why you don't understand that connection. But unfortunately for him, he had to learn his own lesson the hard way. He didn't believe the things that, Sean was telling him is true. He wouldn't believe the other things, And then the other thing is too, now it may not happen with your parents, but like sometimes when parents immigrate to another country, particularly obviously USA or Canada, they tend to really like talk highly of the country and really kind of like instill like a certain level of fear, as like in a sense of like, if you don't do well, we'll get kicked out kind of thing, and these are great people because they let us into the country and they gave us a better life, like that talk. So that could also be another reason why he can't seem to understand that why would the law be against him when the law is supposed to be like, obviously, all of us know the law ideally is to serve and to protect and to actually be there for us, not against us. And unfortunately, it's been proven more than once that it's often against us, more so that is on our side, So that could also be another reason why he's just not able to make that connection.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. I mean, yes, for sure. And that's the part that, like, I guess for me, I'm struggling to understand, because I'm just like, dude, like, to me, it's just like, and that's why I feel like more and more, like, I understood Sean more in the movie, even though, yes, Sean had his issues, but I was definitely more so on Sean's side.
Oh, me too. Absolutely.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
When he dipped, I was like, Kumle should go with him. Kumle should go with him. Like, he should just
go right. Just like, go ahead and go.
Like, he needs to go. Like, I understand he wants to help, but he needs to go. And as I was,
if he didn't go, then it's possible Emma would have died.
Well, I mean,
you know what? At that point, it wasn't on him.
It wasn't. They did the best they could.
Exactly, and like you said, they're just newly graduated or about to be graduated.
I think that's the best that they did, that they could do up until that point. I don't agree with that. I think that they should have handled that completely.
Oh yeah,
completely differently.
They could have, honestly. The first thing they should have done was like just call the police anonymously and have them figure it out, kind of thing, or whatever it might be, right? But yeah, it could have been handled. It could have been handled so differently. That is definitely the truth,
No, absolutely. Like that whole situation should have been handled differently. Like it should have never even gotten to that point. Because like I said before, they should just went ahead, dumped her behind outside, and waited for the police to go ahead and come there and be like, "We found this girl laid out. Come get her," and went to the party and going about their day. But they were just like, it just went from like point A to like point Z. And it's like, y'all still all the letters in between and just didn't even, like, you're panicking and not even like sitting down and being like, hey, let's try to figure this mess out.
Exactly.
So it was like it seemed like pretty much everybody in the movie was wrong. Like, it was just like everybody was wrong.
Absolutely.
And it's like nobody wanted to have accountability for any action that they took.
Nope.
It was this weird thing. It was just like the more things kept happening, the less the accountability was willing to be taken. So, and like you said, Lena, like, I too, if I was them, I would have went with Sean. Absolutely. I would have dipped out and just been like, y'all figure it out on your own. Like, you found your sister, get her to the hospital then. You know what I'm saying? Like, it certainly would have been me. It certainly would have been me. I'd have been like, you found your sister, peace out.
Yep.
But he wanted to try to, save her. And then now, with the police waving the gun in his face, now it's like, I was just trying to help. And like, the gag is, and that part, like, was like a knife to my stomach, because I'm like, it's so many times in this country. And this is why I was like, this is so weird. And it's weird, but also at the same time, it's one of those things where it's like, this is making me a little uncomfortable, because it was like, he was like, oh man, like I'm just trying to help. I'm just trying to help. And he's like crying. I'm just trying to help. I'm just trying to help. And it's like, that is literally the many times why many of us get killed. And that is why you will hear a lot of times, a lot of us Blacks will be like, you on your own. I'm sorry, we want to be the people to help you because we can help. But that is a lot of times the reason why we won't help. Because automatically we know that if we put ourselves in this situation, 9 times out of 10, the police is going to look at us and be like, we are connected to it. We had something to do with it. And they're going to make a blind judgment and automatically say we had something to do with it. And there's been so many times that people of color and Black people specifically have been killed over just trying to help. And it's like, or just being in the wrong place at the wrong time. So it's just like watching him just like crumble, and like literally we get all the way to the very end of the movie where, the girl comes over and she wants to, thank him for saving her life and all this stuff. And then the sister comes over and wants to read them a whole 4-page letter about, how she wants to thank them and all this stuff, and how she's trying to change herself and making it all about her.
Right.
And I'm just like, oh, someone get this Karen. Someone get her. And child, he slammed the door in his face, and I was like, oh, yes, thank you.
God. Honestly, thank God.
Yes. I was like, that's like the best thing he could have done in that entire movie. I'm like, yes.
And something that I liked was the redemption for Sean towards the end. Because we saw that after he dipped, he went to try and do the legendary tour or whatever it's called, and he we saw him grab a fork at one point, and then Kunle and Carla.
Well, we wind a little bit. When he tried to he tried to do a legendary tour at this point, he was just trying to go to a party just to try to enjoy the night, the party that he was looking forward to. And I guess while he was there, he realized it wasn't as fun without his friend.
Yeah, and then oh gosh, I'm forgetting their name. Kunle and Carlos, they went to the oh my god, went to try to save his cultures in the lab. And when they got to the lab, they saw that Sean was asleep on the floor in front of the fridge to close the fridge because he didn't have the key to lock it. So he had went back to try and help his friend out. So he isn't so selfish.
Yeah, I really like that when I saw at the end where he sat in front of, he slept in front of the fridge to keep it closed because he didn't have the keys to lock it. I thought that was really, really nice. And in the end, it kind of goes to show that he admitted that the whole reason why they were gonna do this because he wanted to have one last hurrah with him, knowing fully well that they were gonna go separate ways next year, kind of thing. So that's ultimately what it was really all about.
Yeah, it was a moment of vulnerability from Sean at some point because he was insecure about his friend leaving because he actually Kunle didn't tell Sean that he got into Princeton, and then he actually Sean already knew, and he was afraid that when Kunle left that they wouldn't be friends anymore. So that's that's why he was acting the way that he was acting. Something else, he let Kunle let Sean know about what happened, and it really like messed him up. Like he was sobbing, he was so afraid, he thought he was gonna die, and then the words got to Sean, so like Sean started to cry as well, and I just that whole scene, I love that scene, and oh man, like very good acting from both of them. And Sean just completely redeemed himself in my eyes.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely enjoyed that last scene, and it was some damn good acting on all of their parts. Like it was really good. And yeah, like, but that one last scene though, before it ended, where the sirens was blaring in the background, and dude is like blinks, like stone faced. So like this really fucked him up for life. Like he's never going to be the same. And it's just like it's sad just how traumatic and traumatized stuff like this can happen. Like it's terrible. So yeah, like that really just it's really sad. Like it didn't end on a cheery note at all. Like it was very it was very sad how the movie ended.
Did you see the post credit scene?
No, there was a post credit scene.
Yeah, or I guess a mid credit scene.
I definitely did not.
Me neither.
So that part was screwed up, but they kind of had a little bit of levity to it. The mid credit scene was Sean Kunle and Carlos sneaking into the school, and they put their picture up on the wall, and it was for this the first guys to sneak their picture onto the wall, like a totally random.
Oh, that's smart. But yeah,
so that was like a happy. I guess they knew that it ended on a somber note, so they wanted to like put some levity into it.
I had a feeling there was a credit scene, but I was just like, you know what? I'm already so done with this movie that I was like,
Same.
I had a feeling because I saw that it had 4 minutes left. So I was like, okay, 4 minutes left. That usually does not include the credits, So I'm like, but I was like, nah, I just don't have the energy for it. I just really don't.
Me neither. Me neither.
So, but I'm glad one of us saw it.
Well, I mean, let's rate it. Like, what did you think? I know, Lena, you were like child cheese, but what did you rate it for?
Out of 5, I want to give it 2.5 stars.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair.
Yeah.
Will?
I think I would give it a 3.5.
Okay, I am giving it a 3. I'm gonna just give it a solid 3. Cause I enjoyed it, but it was very middle of the road. So yeah, I don't know. Like it was a decent movie. I mean, RJ really brought the fire. I mean, he was the best, definitely the best thing in the movie for sure.
Oh, 1,000% for sure.
Like he carried that movie on his back. RJ carried that movie. Now, granted, of course, like the dude who plays Kunle he's phenomenal too. Like I'm not just gonna say he wasn't a good actor, but like he was good too. But RJ, man, like God, that boy is a damn good actor. That just makes no sense how good that boy is.
Yeah, like just all throughout the movie, but in particular that scene just being vulnerable with his best friend, that and him crying, I loved it.
Me too. Ooh, child. Now I'm in my fifis. Ooh, child. And I was like, and we got to review this just coming off a dog on Juneteenth. Ooh, child. This is not the move. I don't know why I did that, but this is not the move. Ooh, child.
Absolutely not.
But listen, y'all, if y'all want to watch the movie, you most certainly should. You most certainly should. I think it's a great watch.
Yeah, I agree.
And if you watch it, let us know what you think. Definitely let us know what you think. But we're not gonna leave you quite yet, because we still got one more thing to talk about. So for all of y'all out there, we've been talking about trying to get more news about this universe, and trying to figure out what the devil is going on, why we don't know certain things, and it's that and the third, but now apparently we got some tea. We got some stuff. So Deadline gave us a little. They went it randomly. It was a very random day. Deadline posted an article basically saying Jeannie Klein to serve as showrunner on Power Rangers series as part of overall deal with E1. Now, when Deadline broke the news, obviously I was at work. So
same.
I'm like, what in the devil is going on? Now, of course, as y'all already know, I'm with No Pink Spandex as well. So I get a text from Lisa J being like, hey, did you know that this is a thing? And I'm like, wait a minute, what? And so, come to find out, this is, and nobody reported it. This was a thing for a minute, for a hot little second. The news has been out for a little bit, but nobody reported it. So we were like, holy crap, let's go ahead and jump on this. Let's go ahead and report it, because nobody's saying anything. So Jeannie Klein. Now, first of all, Jeannie Klein has an extensive resume. She has worked with Power Rangers alumni before, namely Emma Lahana, because she was, I believe, the executive producer or one of the producers for Cloak and Dagger. And she's also, I believe, she also worked with Brendan J. McLaren as well, I believe. So, she's worked with a couple of Power Ranger alumni. She's worked on plenty of big shows. So Homegirl knows what she's doing. This is the thing. She knows what she's doing. So that really makes me excited about this new future of Power Rangers and what it's about to give. But basically, what it says is Jeannie Klein has signed an overall deal for television content with Independent Studio Entertainment One, or E1. Under the 2-year pact, Klein will develop the genre and drama-based television content and will serve as showrunner on E1's Power Ranger series that is currently in development at Netflix. She will collaborate on the series with Jonathan Entwistle, who is overseeing the Power Rangers universe under a deal he signed with E1 in 2020 to develop the franchise across the film and television. Now, let's be very clear. That also goes ahead and tells you right then and there, Jonathan Entwistle did not abandon Power Rangers, y'all.
Right.
So, and once again, didn't I say that?
Mm-hmm.
I said it. It was me. Y'all out here talking about something. Well, he took it off of his Twitter bio. if they ain't reported it, then it ain't happened. But anywho, quiet as it's kept. Of course, people are gonna, be all like, oh, news, right? But anywho, Jonathan Entwistle basically was like, look, he popped up even and was on Twitter basically congratulating Jenny, being like, congratulations. But at this point, none of us knew at this point what she was going to be doing. Because the question that was rising in everybody's mind is it was unclear whether or not she was going to be the showrunner of the current Power Ranger show, the one that, we currently have, or it was going to be the new spinoff universe. So that was the little question that was going around in everybody's mind until Jonathan Entwistle came out with a tweet basically being like, the new Power Ranger show that, and I hate her Twitter handle. I'm not even going to say it, but her Twitter handle is something else. But the new Power Ranger show that Jenny and I are working on is firmly part of the new cinematic universe. Can't wait to share more information with everyone soon. Maybe some familiar faces in a brand new universe. So that does mean that she is going to be over the brand new universe and not the current one that we already have. Thoughts? What do you think about that?
I just read her damn Twitter handle. Wow.
I'm very excited. I'm interested to see what they're going to bring to the table, what this is going to look like. I'm ready for this new chapter.
Oh, yeah, for sure. It's cool because she has some experience on superhero shows, like Brandon said. Cloak and Dagger is one of them.
Jessica Jones. My bad. That's oh gosh, not Brandon, but Ika. Yeah, Ika.
And The Witcher, Supernatural. It is Cloak and Dagger too.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah.
Supernatural. Holy moly, I love Supernatural.
So, maybe she'll be able to understand what a new world is going for and maybe bring some of that experience to this, since she's a showrunner. So this is exciting. Just something small like this would have been nice to know. But I'm assuming something happened to make us have to wait this long. Like maybe the initial plans fell apart or something like that. But it's nice to finally have something.
Honestly, I hear that, but and maybe it's just me, but I really feel like Hasbro is they're really trying to do their best in trying to give us something that we all can, really sink our teeth into and really enjoy. I really think that they're just trying to really just tread lightly as much as possible, to try to make this as much of a good product as it possibly can, because I do feel like overall the alternative, because they were saying that they want to do multiple mediums, right? But if they're talking about creating a whole brand new universe, what if this whole brand new universe is the brand new universe that's going to contain everything in it? That's going to contain the new movies, the new animations, the new, all this new stuff. Like, what if that is going to include all of that and not the universe that we already have? You know what I'm saying? So it's like, if they're trying to create this brand new universe, it would make sense for them to be as meticulous and as specific as possible. You know what I'm saying? To try to iron out every single detail, try to give credence to every single thing, to try to make everything make sense. So there's no loopholes, no nothing. And, maybe that's what it is. And, that's why I'm like, you know what? I'm not really tripping on them just being like, give us something, give us something, give us something. Because I'm just like, look, the pandemic happened. Dude also he still got to make money. He still got to, make a living. So it's like, even though he's doing this project, he still got to eat. And it's obvious that they hadn't really been pushing anything as of yet, as we pretty much have noticed. So more than likely the whole Power Rangers thing has probably been put on hold for a little while. And of course, it's no secret that Hasbro has been putting other things in the forefront right now. They're promoting other things and not Power Rangers. So, it's very possible that they were just like, look, we, and in this specific time right now, we are a company that are all about toys and all about certain big brands that's going to carry us through. Power Rangers is not one of them right now. We're still in the emerging brands right now, even though we've been here for almost 30 years. We're still an emerging brand. We don't have the gusto of a My Little Pony or a Transformers. We don't have that. So, of course they're going to push, D&D, Transformers, and, all this stuff. They're going to push all that first. So my thing is, I'm just excited that, we finally got something going, and, it seems like we're on the right track, but I do have a question for y'all. He said, familiar faces, right? Who are some familiar faces or a familiar face that you would like to see come back to the show or be in this universe in some kind of way?
Tanya.
Get out of my head. Damn it.
Didn't come back yet.
Right. She's the only Zeo Ranger that has not come back. Tanya. Nakia Burrise, bring her back.
Oh man. Jen. It would be cool to see her again. Even though we've seen him a couple of times, we haven't seen him since 2007. I would love to see Adam.
Yeah.
Oh my God, there's so many. Our Space Rangers, that would be really cool to see them again. Other people from the RPM universe.
So you just basically want to just
too many.
You just want to bring everybody from the old universe into the new universe, basically.
Well, I don't think everyone, but oh my God, somebody from the 2017 movie, that would be cool.
RJ.
RJ, yeah.
RJ. Would love to see that Billy pop in, I would love to see that Billy work with like David Yost. Oh, that'd be such a mind fuck.
Mm-hmm.
That would be so freaking cool. But yeah, yeah. I would love that actually. That would be pretty cool. Lena, what about you? Is there anyone that you would like to see pop up in the new universe?
I can't think of anyone in mind right now, but like I think I'd just be happy with anybody that gets, hopefully they get constipated. Wow. Hopefully they get
Wow.
I'm trying to say what's the other word for it? They pay them well.
Compensated.
Yeah, compensated.
You were close.
You were close.
So yeah, as long as they get, paid obviously decently well and they're treated well and they actually have a proper storyline as to where their character's been, I'm all for it.
Okay.
Because I'm so tired of having. I think once the episode Once the Ranger, I think that was the best comeback that I could possibly see since then. Where you're giving us little snippets of where people have been at, where their characters, what they've been up to. That's what I really want. I don't really care in a sense who comes back, because I know when you ask the real fans, they're like, oh, I want Tommy back, or I want. First of all, we're over Tommy. I think everyone but him, I would not mind coming back.
Well, Yes.
You know, and it was like a real good storyline. Actually have if you're gonna have like a group of Rangers come back and they actually know each other, have them interact, you know? And even they don't know each other, like Forever Red. They all got to know each other, you know? So it's just sort of I want something like that, a cross between Forever Red and Once a Ranger, you know, and have it like a good, wholesome, like feel good return, you know?
Right.
With a good like storyline as to where they've been or what they are currently up to, kind of thing.
Right.
That's it. That's all I really care about. Like, I don't care who comes back in the sense that like if anyone comes back, I think I'd just be happy just to see any familiar faces.
That's real.
You know,
I agree. Like, but speaking of people that you know, want to be paid well, a certain Power Ranger alum has been pretty vocal about, you know, getting paid. So Michael Tabor on Twitter has had some things that he wanted to get off his chest.
Ooh.
So
he
says, cease and desist, honey. No, he didn't say honey, but he said cease and desist.
Oh,
he
no.
Said, this is so cool, and I'm honored to have an action figure with my face. But I was never told that this was going to be a release, and I for sure did not get paid. For as honored as I am, this needs to be better. Hashtag unionized Power Rangers. So here's my thing, Mr. Michael. What you say, honey?
I was about to say, shut up. Like, first of all, this guy tried to do everything and anything to pull himself from the franchise. And now you want to cease and desist because a semi-similar future of what you could... I'm sorry, you're white. You look like literally every other white guy. That character looks like every other white guy. So who are we ceasing and desisting, okay? Like, I've seen the character. He literally looks like another white guy. So, you know, stop trying to like make money on the behalf of Power Rangers when you don't even like the franchise like that. Get out of here.
Oh, child. Listen, Michael Tabor, child. First of all, let me come into my office. Lena read you at the door, but I want you to come in my office and sit down because I'm gonna read you now. I'm gonna read you. First of all, Michael, let me clear my throat because I need you to hear this. You signed a contract. It's not anybody's fault. It's not Hasbro's fault. It's not Saban's fault that you didn't read your contract. Had you read your contract, you would have known that you wouldn't be getting compensated for anyone using your likeness, baby. So that's number one. Number two, like, let's be very clear. You started mentioning this and you're starting to have all this smoke now. Sir, you came back for the reunion. Why would you have come back to lend your voice in the Beast Morphers / Dino Charge team up if you had such an issue? Why would you come back?
Oh yeah,
because they easily could have gotten,
Oh yeah, that's right. He did come back. I forgot.
He did come back. They easily could have gotten a little New Zealander to dub him. But you lent your voice. So what's the problem? So basically I feel like you're only so vocal when you think it benefits you.
Facts.
Because it's given real, like, if it doesn't serve my purpose and it doesn't, you know, serve in the vein of, oh, I'm trying to trash talk Power Rangers and die on this heel of, oh my God, they're treating me so badly. When you signed your likeness away, you did that. You know, it's like you don't have a leg to stand on. And by golly, like, whatever your new job is, I mean, I hope that they're, you know, that you read the contracts and that shit. I hope you know what your new job is, because apparently you don't seem to have any ideas of what your jobs are. and what they really entail.
I mean, is he even acting anymore? Like, I don't even know.
Well, he's not, apparently. Apparently, he's not. You know, so I'm just like, okay, it's just like, dude, like, this is not the argument to be making. And like, he had a similar argument with the whole thing with Austin St. John. Like, he tried to bring that whole, well, if Power Rangers was paying their actors and, you know, was, you know, letting them get a cut of every time they produce or you know, paid them for their likeness every time they made a toy of them, then he wouldn't have had to do what he did. Basically, I'm just, you know,
so is he trying
summarizing
to say that,
what he said.
like, so is he trying to say that Austin is guilty?
No, what he's trying to say is, if Austin would have been getting residuals, he wouldn't have had to been, you know, he wouldn't have had to allegedly take out that loan. But which I'm like, that still doesn't mean that but him being retired for 20 plus years from Power Rangers, that just automatically means that he allegedly now has to become a thief.
No, but that
doesn't make sense.
What also doesn't make sense is the fact that, like, he's almost like saying that. Now, I'm saying this from, like, you know, like a fan's point of view where they don't do the research kind of thing. We'll say, you're just literally just said that Austin is guilty. Even though Austin isn't exactly guilty, we don't really know what's happening. The what?
Yeah, it's weird. It's really weird.
I am so confused right now because at the end of the day, whether or not Austin did what he did, we don't know if he did what he did. We have no idea. I don't think it had anything to do with Power Rangers. Not
a damn thing.
If he did it, let's just say if he did, and that's a big if, I'm not saying he is. He did it because he thought he could gain from it. Not because he wasn't making quote unquote enough money from Power Rangers. Bruh, he never made enough money from Power Rangers to begin with. That's why he left. Like, yeah, I'm so confused.
This whole, that's what I'm just like, what are you talking about, Michael? Like, this is the wrong argument.
It doesn't even suit the situation.
It doesn't suit the situation at all.
What?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh, poor child. I think you need to go back to school.
Like, child, he needed to go do something, because I'm just sitting here like, baby, you got that all fucked up. Like,
so if y'all could see the look on my face right now, I'm just like, I'm genuinely, I think my face is literally, I saw a UFO, like, just take Michael Tater away right now. Like, what is happening? What on earth is this boy trying to say?
Yeah, I don't even think he knows. And what were you gonna say, Will?
It's just, I'm all for the actors actually having rights and benefits and stuff. I think that the show should at some point go union. I'm looking through his Twitter now, and somebody called him out on the stuff that he's saying. What do they say? Baby, PR is a shit job, but if you're still moping about it, taking a year of your life 5+ years ago, that's your own fault. Plenty of actors learned acting wasn't for them and got new careers. This is a ridiculous statement to make. You should be ashamed. And his response was, I have a new career. Look it up. It's great. Also, I'm not moping. I'm advocating. Who else is going to stick up for these kids if they don't let their agents negotiate when they get the job? Sure as shit isn't the brand. No, it says reaction to that.
Like,
I don't know. It seems like some time ago he whatever beef he had with Power Rangers and not wanting to be a part of it, it like ended at some point in recent history. But now, like, if you're gonna call out, like, I have no problem anytime somebody calls out a corrupt system.
I mean,
but go ahead, Lena, because I think you want to say the same thing I'm gonna say. Go ahead.
Like, we already known for so long that the system has been corrupted. And he's talking about, their agent negotiating a better deal. Like, well, I'm sorry, but that means your agency did not negotiate you a better deal, but yet you took it anyways. That was your own fault.
Boom.
Yeah, and it's in the past, and he knows better now. And it sounds like he's talking about helping whoever takes the job later.
I mean,
but go ahead.
Sorry. If he is actually trying to help, there are better ways of doing it, better ways of going about it than to kind of rent off like a like mopey teen, a young adult. That's just sad that like he felt like the world owes him everything when no one does.
Facts.
Like, I'm sorry, but why did you come back to do a voiceover? You could have like I'm genuinely confused. Like, your actions are saying one thing, your words are saying another. Like, again, I'm all for advocating for what is right and calling out the system when it's wrong. But at the end of the day, there are definitely other ways of doing it, for sure, that's actually beneficial.
Exactly. And just like Lena was saying, and I just want to piggyback off of that, my thing is, just like she said, if you really had an issue, because here's the thing, Michael Tabor, it's no secret that Michael Tabor did not care for Power Rangers.
No.
Like, after he left, him and Camille, as a matter of fact, both of them, it was no secret, literally after their season was over. So we've known from Ninja Steel to Beast Morphers, they didn't really too much care for this franchise. Nope. Then you came back and you gave your voice again for this team up. You weren't here, but you contributed your voice to it, which meant that you still went out of your way and you put time into a project that you claim you no longer care about. That's another thing too. Here's also another problem that I have. Here you are, you're saying you're advocating, right? Okay, advocating, great. That's wonderful. We love this. We love to see it. But here's the thing: your advocating is not coming from a place of you really are trying to advocate for these actors getting what their just due is. What it really is you're latching on to certain situations that Power Rangers are going through, that where it looks, bad, where the franchise is, having some things happen because of certain people having things that are happening to them, where it's reflecting onto the franchise. You're using that as ammo to, what I'm saying, to make a claim that doesn't even coincide with what's actually happening. Because it's weird.
I would love to hear what he actually means, like in detail. That'd be interesting. Because I don't know. It's him coming back. I wonder if it was a situation where it's like, okay, well, we've got most of the cast. You two, we just need you two. And maybe they were like convinced to do it. Maybe they got a good payday for it. I don't know.
But see, that's just it. If you got a good payday out of it, what are you complaining about?
What are you complaining about?
I mean, there's still other bad things going on there. I don't know.
Well, I'm sorry, but the math ain't mathing for me. It ain't mathing. The math ain't mathing. Because my thing is, at the end of the day, you're still putting yourself in this. Like, if you don't want nothing to do with it, then you don't want nothing to do with it. But just sitting here being like, oh yeah, like, please, like, this whole thing is so corrupt, and it's this, that, and the third, and it's so bad, and it's like, but you're still, every chance you're getting, you're still supporting it.
Right. So if it's so bad, why are you on the show still? Why are you lending your voice? What, did you think people weren't going to recognize it?
Exactly. Like the math just ain't math. And that's why I'm like, I'm sorry, but no. Like, no.
No, I'm not buying anything he's saying.
Me neither.
You know what I think? I think he's trying to make himself relevant again. And I don't know what he's trying to do, to be honest with you. I don't know exactly what he's looking to do with making himself relevant again or making himself more recognizable or whatever the choice of words he's seeking for. Because he's not doing convention. So it's like, what are you really looking to do here? Like, what is your goal by seeking all this attention?
Exactly.
You know, what is it for?
Because he's like, you know, I'm trying to advocate, and, you know, they're using my likeness. Dude, like, yes, of course they're using your likeness. You signed it away, just like every other actor did. Every actor in this franchise has signed away their likeness. You're the only person who is sitting here screaming from the rooftop, oh, well, this is terrible. Well, you signed it away. It was in your contract.
Yep.
Now, just like one person who wrote on Twitter, I believe, in the comment section, they even said it. They were like, well, if you didn't read your contract, that's your problem. It ain't got nothing to do with anybody else.
Nope.
That's your fault.
Absolutely.
So if you got a problem with it, you need to be mad at yourself, not mad at the franchise.
And honestly, if you just want money from it, then just say that.
Boom. There you go.
Like,
Yahtzee.
You know, like if you're like,
hello,
I wish I got paid for this, you can just say that too. That's actually a lot more like real.
Yeah.
That's real. And you know, and that's facts. Like at the end of the day, heck, if my likeness is being used, I would like to get paid too, even though I know I signed an NDA, even though I know I signed away my likeness. It'd be nice. Or maybe it could be a situation of like, you know what? I kind of wish that I foresee this in my future. Because if I did, I would have renegotiated my contract. Like, that's perfectly fine to say too.
Exactly.
Because yeah.
Because like you said, exactly. Like if he was to be like, look, damn, I wish I was much smarter when I was younger and I actually read through my contract, because I probably would have tried to negotiate me getting paid for my likeness. You know what I'm saying? Like that would have probably been a lot more palatable than trying to basically be like, oh, they just making money off of me. Duh.
Like,
what do you think?
Right? What do you think was gonna happen?
You know, come on, dude.
Come on. And you know what? Openly admitting the fact that you would like to pay for it is nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong. We've all been there. We all taken jobs that we wish we've been paid so much more for, but we don't because
absolutely,
you know, because at the time we just did what we did. You know, whether it was putting food on the table or meeting the bare minimum, we did it. And there's nothing to be ashamed of. Just admit it.
Exactly. And that's the thing. It's like, I gather, you know, them being on Power Rangers when they were, you know, I gather it wasn't the most, no, it wasn't the most nicest thing, because we've heard the horror stories behind, you know, what was going on. And apparently, you know, him and Camille didn't really have a nice time, you know, on the show, which is understandable. It's understandable.
And then,
but
you know, and then you get people like Yoshi, who had the best time of his life.
Right.
He had the same season as you, you know? So it's like, and even Brennan Mejia, like he hasn't, I don't recall, you can totally correct me if I'm wrong, but he also had a really decent time too, right? For the most part.
Yeah, for the most part, yeah. I mean, there was some times that he mentioned that it was like, I wish, you know, I could have been able to act and made better choices than what, you know, I was allowed to make. But, you know.
But that's creative difference, right? Like that was out of control. So that's, you know, like that's understandable. That's totally out of his control, but very understandable. But see, it's like, so it sounds like for the most part, these guys are from the same season as you guys were. They had a, you know, a relatively good overall good experience. Now, we don't know what happened. I'm not saying like we're blaming you. We're not, because we can all go through the exact same thing, experiencing the exact same thing, but come up differently. And that's
right.
Perfectly fine. That is absolutely perfectly fine. There's absolutely nothing wrong with having difference of opinions. But come on. Just you know what? Your words are not meeting up with your actions. That's it.
I agree 100%. It's just that's why I say the math ain't mathing. The math just ain't mathing. It's giving real, like, you out here being like, oh, I'm upset, but also if you need me, I'm here. It's like,
what is this?
I don't know. It's just not giving for me. It's not giving.
Like, at least Camille stuck to her word. She's like, I'm out of here. I'm out of here.
Okay, she was like, I'm gonna do this little piece of voiceover, and I'm done. I ain't gonna say nothing else.
Yep.
And I'm moving on to other stuff.
And you know what? She's been a professional about it. She made it clear that she didn't want to be part of the franchise, and I think for the most part, at least. And then correct me if I'm wrong, I think the fandom respects that for the most part. And that was it. She did her thing. She's out there, creating more projects, just kicking butt, just really climbing up that that resume and just doing all the things. And she's doing great. Her stuff is great. Like she's a really good actress.
Facts. Yeah.
I'm not sure how supportive some people are, honestly, because she's a woman, she's a Black woman at that. And whenever somebody isn't, all up Power Rangers ass, there's issues.
I mean, you always gonna have those fans.
Exactly. Yeah.
You always gonna have them. It's always gonna be that fan of just like, oh, well, if you're not, at every convention being like go Power Rangers and giving us your morph call, then you're not my Power Ranger, like whatever. But you're always gonna have them. But I'm talking about, my thing is, it's like, if you are respectful about it, especially like with Emma Lahana, for example, like with her, perfect example. All she did is she's just like, look, I've done Power Rangers. Power Rangers is behind me. I'm good. It was a job I did. Had fun while I did it. I'm moving on. I'm now doing other stuff. I'm not Kira Ford. My name is Emma Lahana. Moving right along.
Yeah.
It's not this. It doesn't say that she hates the brand or anything like that. Now, granted, Camille does kind of seem like she doesn't care for it. That's her opinion.
Yeah.
But the character her and the character she played are two different people.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's all about, a lot of times fans don't know how to make distinctions between the actors and the characters they play. They think that the actor is automatically tied to, the actor who is playing it. They feel that the character and the actor are the same people. They're not. That's the whole point of acting.
And then not even just that, but they also feel like the actor / the characters owe them something, owes them the world. And you're like, yeah, but you didn't make their career. They did.
Exactly. Exactly. And that's the problem that I have with this whole situation with Michael Tabor, because it's like, you and no shade, and this is no shade, but and I really want to be very clear when I say this, when I'm like, it's no shade, like legit, it's no shade. But when people think about Dino Charge, nobody really thinks about Riley. You're not really a popular character.
Nobody.
You're not. Like, you're just not. Like, you're not a popular, like, of the original 6, you're not a popular character.
No.
Like, everybody loves themselves some Shelby, some Tyler, even Ivan when he came in. Yeah. Everybody loved Chase.
Yeah.
Coda was adorable. Riley?
Nope.
Crickets. Except for Will. because we'll like Riley. But but you know,
and I mean everyone even liked Prince Frank, what's his name again? Prince
Phillip.
I was about to call him Prince. I was about to call him Prince Albert.
Oh,
like,
wow.
Even Prince Phillip, they liked him more than they liked Riley.
I would think people liked Albert more than Riley.
Yeah,
and he wasn't around that much.
No.
He was around like twice.
Well, same with Prince Phillip. He was only around like a couple episodes too.
Yeah. So that's my point. It's like there's so many. Hell, people even like Kendall.
Kendall's
people still
awesome.
like
I love her.
Kendall's awesome.
Kendall.
Kendall's awesome.
More than they rep Riley. So it's just like my thing is, it's like it's a whole lot of like, you know, venom coming from an actor whose character people really didn't care for like that. I'm just saying, like, it's just the optics of the situation.
You're not wrong. And especially like from a season where there's so many other ranges to choose from too.
Right. And the gag is people already really weren't checking for your character to begin with like that. Not saying that nobody didn't like them, because I'm pretty sure that there were fans who do like Riley. Like there are fans who do. But it's like it's not the same as a Shelby or a Coda or a Tyler. You know, it's not the same. And let's also be very clear: you yourself are not making it any easier for people to like your character even more with your little quote unquote hot takes. Like you're not making it any easier. So you're advocating. It's like it's like almost kind of like you're advocating is in vain. Because it's like if it's coming from an actor who you know character people really doesn't care about, and now people are going to really start not caring about your character. It's like, what are you doing this for? You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, you're not like, and I understand. Obviously, you're like bump my character. I don't care. I'm just trying to advocate for other actors. But it's like, dude, at the end of the day, like. It is what it is. That's why they always say you read through your contract. And plus, let's be very clear. Everybody who knows about Power Rangers, we know about those contracts. We know that once you signed your signature on that dotted line, that's it. We all know that. You know. So hopefully, you know, in the future, you know, with Hasbro's new projects, maybe they might actually start, you know, being unionized and stuff like that, which I imagine because, you know, this woman she only does union projects, you know, so more than likely this project will be unionized. Hopefully. I don't quite know how this worked for SAG-AFTRA when it comes to producers. I'm not exactly sure. Because it could be a situation where producers are the same as actors, where if they're a part of the SAG-AFTRA, which I believe that's the case. If they're a part of SAG-AFTRA as producers, then they automatically only can produce shows that are SAG-AFTRA. Like they can't produce non-union shows. So more than likely, they are going to have SAG actors for the show, which means it will be unionized. Hopefully. And in that case, we won't have to be running into what Michael Tabor is talking about, where it's like, oh, well, make sure you get your royalties. They'll have them. It'll be a part of the contract.
Mm-hmm.
So, but we shall see. But you know, with all the shade throwing, he does bring up a good point. And it is that, you know, we should all be reading our contracts. Anything that we sign our names into, we should be reading it so that we'll know exactly what we're getting ourselves into. Absolutely. I do agree with that. Damn, that sounded shady. I am so sorry.
Oh, that's great. I mean,
it's so shady.
You know, it's true. Lesson be taught. Always read your contracts.
Always read your contracts.
Otherwise,
okay?
you'll be out here looking like a Michael.
Looking pressed. Child, more pressed than a rented tuxedo, honey. But is there... But is there anything else anybody else wanted to mention before we get out of here tonight?
No, I'm good.
Well, this has been a very spirited episode with a lot of different opinions. So if you all have been listening out there, just let us know what you think. Well, not even whose side you taking, but just tell us your opinion. Like, what do you think about these topics and the stuff that we talked about tonight? Let us know in the comment section. And also, too, if you do watch Emergency, please let us know what you think about it. We'd love to hear your opinions. And also give us your opinions on the stuff that we talked about tonight, dealing with the new universe and everything. We'd love to hear it. And once again, my name is Brandon.
My name is Lena.
And my name is Will.
And we will see you next time. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.